It was our third wedding anniversary, which also happened to be my mother-in-law's birthday gala. The gift I'd personally designed and sculpted, a small jade statuette, was thrown on the floor like trash by my brother-in-law, Preston. He jabbed a finger at my face, his voice dripping with contempt. A useless freeloader like you has the right to give gifts? My wife, Victoria Sterling, simply looped her arm through her brother's and stared at me, her face a mask of cold indifference. Leo, apologized to Preston. Don't ruin Mom's party. In that instant, a siren blared in my head. DCNG, Ultimate Doormat Awakening. Truth or Dare system is now bound. DARE mission issued. Immediately walk up to your wife's arch-nemesis, Seraphina Frost, and kiss her on the lips. Reward: God-tier sculpting skill and $5 million in cash. I glanced across the ballroom at the woman in question, a regal, ice-cold figure deep in conversation. Then I looked back at my wife, who was waiting for me to kneel and apologize. Done. The light from the crystal chandeliers in the hotel ballroom stabbed at my eyes. On the floor, shattered in a pool of sticky sauce, was the small longevity peach I had spent 3 straight nights carving from a piece of rare, old-stock Wyoming jade. It looked like a pathetic joke. The other gift I'd prepared for my mother-in-law, a tureen of homemade, traditional bouillabaisse I'd meticulously simmered for hours, had been slapped out of my hands by Preston. Scalding hot soup splashed across the back of my hand, the pain sharp and searing. Preston pointed at my nose. A useless freeloader like you has the right to give gifts? A ripple of soft, mocking laughter spread through the surrounding guests. They were all members of Boston's elite, here to watch this Sterling family drama unfold. I looked at Victoria, my wife. She was wearing a champagne-colored couture gown tonight, making her look elegant, beautiful, and utterly alien. She was dabbing a small grease spot on Preston's suit with a napkin, her movements precise and careful. She didn't look at the red, swollen burn on my hand. She didn't look at the shattered pieces of my hard work on the floor. After cleaning his suit, she finally lifted her head to speak to me. Leo apologized to Preston. Her voice was as cold as the air conditioning humming through the grand ballroom. Don't ruin Mom's party. For 3 years, I had married into the Sterling family, working myself to the bone, and this is what I got in return. A pang of pain seized my heart, so intense I could barely breathe. I thought I had grown numb to it all, but it turned out I could still feel the hurt. I opened my mouth, ready to finally say the 2 words I had been suppressing for 3 years. I want a divorce. But just then a mechanical, electronic voice exploded in my mind. DCNG, Ultimate Doormat Awakening. Truth or Dare system is now bound. HOSD, Leo Vance. Status, Doormat Husband. Doormat level, S-Class. 3 years of devotion treated as garbage. Dignity trampled at will. Social connections virtually non-existent. Congratulations on achieving the King of Doormat's achievement. I froze. DARE mission issued. Immediately walk up to your wife's arch-nemesis, Seraphina Frost, and kiss her on the lips. TME limit, 3 minutes. Mission reward, God-tier sculpting skill, $5 million in cash. Following the system's guidance, my eyes drifted across the room. Not far away, a woman in a long black velvet dress was holding a glass of champagne, talking to another guest. She was tall and slender, with an aura of cool elegance. Just by standing there, she had become the center of attention. Seraphina Frost, the other queen of Boston's business world, and my wife Victoria's bitter rival since their school days, a feud that had lasted for over a decade. The rumor was that whenever the 2 of them were in the same room, the temperature dropped by 20 degrees. Kiss her. That was basically public suicide. Seeing me hesitate, Victoria's brow furrowed even deeper. Leo, are you deaf? She snapped. I told you to get on your knees and apologize to Preston. She emphasized the words on your knees, each one a poison nail. I clenched my fists. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a notification from my banking app. Your checking account balance is $98.50. I laughed. It was a hollow, bitter sound. I touched the searing burn on my hand, then glanced again at the Ice Queen across the room. $5 million. A God-tier sculpting skill. Weren't money and the chance to restart my sculpting career the very reasons I'd swallowed my pride for these past 3 years? To hell with dignity. It was long gone anyway. As Victoria's impatient hiss echoed in my ears, I finally moved. She and Preston smirked, assuming I was finally caving, their faces lighting up with the smug satisfaction of victors in a play only they enjoyed. But I didn't walk toward them. I cut straight through the crowd, heading directly for Seraphina Frost. Every head in the room turned to follow me, their expressions shifting from confusion to bewilderment and then to outright shock. I stopped in front of Serafina. She sensed my presence and frowned slightly, her icy gaze landing on me. She looked at me like I was an inanimate object. I didn't give her a second to react. One hand wrapped around her slender waist, the other cupped the back of her head. As the entire ballroom gasped in unison, I kissed her. The room fell dead silent. Time seemed to freeze. Serafina Frost's lips were soft, cool, and tasted faintly of sweet champagne. Her entire body went rigid, her beautiful, sharp, almond-shaped eyes wide with utter disbelief. 3 seconds later, slap! A crisp, loud smack echoed through the silence as her hand connected with my face. The fiery sting instantly overwhelmed the burn on my hand. My head snapped to the side, half of my face numb. It also brought me back to my senses. DKNG. Mission complete. Reward God tier sculpting skill has been delivered. Reward of $5 million has been transferred to your account. Please check for confirmation. Almost simultaneously, my phone began vibrating uncontrollably. A deposit of $5,000,000 has been made to your checking account, ending in 8846. Your new balance is $5,000,098.50. I stared at the string of numbers on the screen and suddenly broke into a grin. Worth it. That slap was absolutely worth it. Serafina's assistant and bodyguards were already rushing over, their faces tense. Ms. Frost, are you all right? Should we call the police? Serafina stopped them with a raised hand. She stared at me, her eyes burning with a look that could kill. Who are you? She enunciated, her voice seething with barely suppressed rage. Just then, a shriek shattered the ballroom's stunned silence. Leo, are you insane? Victoria had finally processed what happened. She stormed over, clutching her gown, her face flushed crimson. She looked at me as if she wanted to tear me limb from limb. Do you have any idea who that is? How dare you touch her? She reached to grab my arm, but I sidestepped her. For the first time, I looked at her with a completely foreign, ice-cold expression. You told me to apologize, didn't you? I touched my swelling cheek, my voice casual. I did. In my own way. DKNG. Doormat behavior detected. Truth mission triggered. Truth mission. Please say the following line to Victoria Sterling. Compared to kneeling to your brother, I much prefer the Queen's slap. Mission reward. Top-tier legal team services, pro bono for life. This system was savage. I loved it. In front of everyone, I looked at Victoria, who was trembling with rage, and spoke, word by word. Compared to kneeling to your worthless brother, I paused. I much prefer the Queen's slap. The color drained from Victoria's face, shifting from crimson to a ghastly white. She trembled, pointing a finger at me, unable to form a single word. You. She probably thought I was cheating on her out of spite, deliberately trying to humiliate her. She was right. I was. The interesting thing was, upon hearing this, the Queen herself, Serafina Frost, actually showed a flicker of a strange expression on her icy face. She stopped her assistant, who already had her phone out, to call the police. Your name is Leo Vance? She asked me. It is. Victoria Sterling's husband? Not for long. I answered, my tone sharp and final. She didn't say anything else, but her piercing eyes scanned me again, from head to toe, as if she were assessing the value of a piece of merchandise. I had no desire to stay in this nauseating place any longer. I straightened my cheap, ill-fitting suit, and under the pointing fingers of the entire ballroom and the furious glares of the Sterling family, I turned and walked away. Behind me, Victoria's enraged screams and Preston's curses faded into the background. I didn't look back once. Stepping out of the hotel's grand entrance, the cool night air hit my face, and the throbbing in my cheek became excruciating. But inside, I felt an exhilarating sense of release I hadn't felt in years. 3 years of repressed anger had finally erupted tonight, with interest, and this was only the beginning. I didn't go back to that place I was supposed to call home. Using the money from the system, I rented a 2,000-square-foot penthouse in the most luxurious high-rise in downtown Boston, with a panoramic view of the Charles River. The first thing I did was block every single member of the Sterling family from my phone. My phone fell silent. The world fell silent. The news of the Boston freeloader who caused a scene at a gala, kissing his wife's arch-rival, spread like wildfire through the city's elite circles. I became the biggest joke in high society. Some said I was crazy. Others said the Sterlings had finally pushed me over the edge. Victoria probably thought so too. She likely assumed I was playing some kind of hard-to-get game to force her hand. On the third day of being blocked, she sent me a message through a mutual friend. Leo, when you're done with your tantrum, crawl back and apologize. I can pretend none of this ever happened. That condescending tone was the exact same one she had used with me for 3 years. I immediately blocked the mutual friend too. In my mind, the system's voice chimed in again. Shinji. New self-destructive opportunity detected. Dare mission issued. Mission objective. Infiltrate Serafina Frost's CEO office. Personally brew her a cup of cilantro coffee, her most hated flavor, and attach a note card that reads, "The taste of love." It's intoxicating. Mission reward. A top-tier commercial property in a prime downtown location. I stared at the mission description and fell silent. Cilantro coffee? And the taste of love? This system was really trying to get me killed. But a prime downtown commercial property. The reward was too tempting. I had studied jewelry design. My lifelong dream was to have my own studio. This property would be the cornerstone of my new career. I'm in. I changed into a new set of clothes, hailed an Uber, and went straight to Apex Industries, Serafina Frost corporate headquarters. A direct assault was out of the question. I paid a DoorDash driver $500 to borrow his uniform, and carrying a cup of my own special cilantro blend that gave off a truly bizarre odor, I slipped into the building. The CEO's office was on the top floor with tight security. The moment I stepped out of the elevator, 2 bodyguards in black suits blocked my path. "What do you want?" "The delivery," I mumbled, pulling the brim of my cap down. "Ms. Frost never orders food delivery. Get out." Just as I was about to fail, an idea struck. I shouted toward the office doors. "Serafina Frost, your cilantro coffee is here. It's getting cold." The entire floor went silent. Every secretary and assistant stared at me like I was a lunatic. The office door opened. Serafina's personal assistant, a sharp woman with gold-rimmed glasses, walked out frowning. "Who let you up here?" I thrust the coffee and the note into her hands. "Someone who loves her asked me to deliver it." With that, I turned and bolted. The 2 bodyguards snapped back to reality, grabbed me by each arm, and dragged me back into the elevator. Just as I was unceremoniously tossed out of the Apex Industries main entrance, the system's notification sounded. "Mission complete. Reward has been delivered." I scrambled to my feet, dusted myself off, and looked at the electronic deed for the commercial property that had just appeared on my phone. I grinned like an idiot. Meanwhile, on the top floor of Apex Industries, Serafina Frost stared at the greenish, nauseating-smelling coffee on her desk and at the card that read "The taste of love." It's intoxicating. She remained silent for a long, long time. For the first time, a crack appeared on her icy facade. "Go find out everything there is to know about this Leo Vance. I want his entire family tree, down to his great-grandparents." I completed the property transfer paperwork as quickly as I could. The space was huge, in a perfect location, directly across from Boston's most high-end shopping mall. I named it Nirvana Studio, specializing in high-end custom jewelry. On the other side of town, Victoria was starting to panic when her messages went unanswered and her calls were blocked. She sent people to all the places I used to frequent, but they found nothing. Finally, through society gossip, she learned that not only was I not homeless on the street, but I had apparently gotten even cozier with her rival, Serafina Frost. I had even opened my own studio. For the first time, she felt things slipping from her control. A strange mix of irritation and jealousy began to fester inside her. That afternoon, while I was at the studio supervising renovations, a fire-red Ferrari screeched to a halt outside. Victoria stormed in, her heels clicking angrily on the concrete floor. "Leo, what the hell do you think you're doing?" She scanned the dusty, unfinished space with a look of pure disdain. "You think this is going to intimidate me?" I ignored her and continued discussing the blueprints with the contractor. Being ignored only fueled Victoria's fury. "Where did you get the money to open a studio? Did Serafina Frost give it to you? You become her boy toy just to get back at me." Her words grew uglier. I finally put down the blueprints and turned to face her. "Ms. Sterling, we have no relationship anymore. My business is none of your concern." "No relationship?" Victoria scoffed. "Leo, we are not divorced. For as long as that's true, you are my husband. I'm ordering you to shut down this dump right now and come home with me." Home? The place where I had lived for 3 years but was treated worse than a guest. I laughed. "Ms. Sterling, have you forgotten what you said when you demanded I kneel and apologize to your brother? You told me not to ruin your mother's party. So now, please don't disturb my business." I pointed to the door. "Goodbye." Victoria's face cycled through shades of purple and white. She had probably never imagined that the man who had been utterly obedient for 3 years would ever speak to her with such a tone. Her chest heaved with rage. "Fine, Leo. Just fine. Let's see how long you last without the Sterling family support." She stomped her foot in fury, turned on her heel, and left. Watching her storm away, I felt nothing. Some things, once broken, can never be put back together. Our marriage was one of them. The long, painful journey of regret was just beginning for her. She just didn't know yet what kind of inferno was waiting. The studio renovations were completed quickly. 2 weeks later, Nirvana officially opened. The opening day was completely dead. Not a single customer. It was to be expected. My reputation in Boston's high society was already in tatters. A useless husband who lived off his wife. A madman who kissed his wife's nemesis. Who would trust me to design anything good? I wasn't in a hurry. I spent my days in the studio sketching designs and carving wax models, enjoying the piece. Until a news headline shattered that peace. Boston's new business prodigy Preston Sterling enters finals of National Emerging Designer Competition with stunning piece, Nirvana, tipped as top contender. The accompanying photo showed Preston, beaming, holding up a design board. The jewelry design on it was intricate, gorgeous, and full of life. My pupils constricted. I knew that design. I knew it intimately. It was my original work, a piece I had poured countless days and nights of my soul into a year ago. I had named it Nirvana, symbolizing my hope that I, like the phoenix, could be reborn from the ashes and reclaim my dreams. It was my masterpiece, the secret weapon I was saving to launch my career at an international competition. How did it end up in Preston Sterling's hands? How did it become his competition entry? A roar filled my ears as blood rushed to my head. I immediately pulled out a burner phone and dialed the number I knew by heart. The phone rang for a long time before she picked up. "Lau, you finally decided to call me." Victoria's voice held a note of smug satisfaction, as if to say, "See, you still need me." I ignored her tone, my voice as cold as ice. "The design Preston is using for the competition. Did you give it to him?" There was silence on the other end. After a few seconds, Victoria finally answered in a breezy, dismissive tone. "Oh, that. I was cleaning out the study a while back and saw you'd thrown it in the trash. I figured you didn't want it anymore." Preston needed an opportunity, a way to establish himself. He's my brother. I had to help him. Just think of it as you helping him out, doing your part for the Sterling family. The trash. The fury that hit me was like a lightning strike. I had treasured that design, kept it safe in a special portfolio tube hidden on the highest shelf of my bookshelf. I would never have thrown it in the trash. There was only one explanation. It was her, Victoria. She had stolen my design, stolen my most precious dream, and handed it to her worthless, untalented brother, just to pave his way. I was shaking with so much rage that I couldn't even speak. 3 years of marriage, in that single moment, became a complete and utter farce. Shinji, host has experienced the ultimate betrayal. Rage meter is off the charts. Ultimate showdown mission issued. Mission objective. At the design competition finals, as Preston Sterling is presenting his work, invite Serafina Frost to the stage. Place the actual Nirvana necklace, which you will craft, around her neck and declare to the audience. Fakes belong in slideshows. The real thing belongs on my queen. Mission reward. Holographic interface technology core patent from a future timeline. I stared at the mission panel and laughed. I laughed so hard tears almost came in my eyes. Victoria, Preston, the entire Sterling family. You're going to pay back what you owe me 100 times over at the very moment of your greatest triumph. I immediately closed the studio, gathered all my savings, and took out that piece of old Wyoming jade I hadn't yet touched. In my mind, the god-tier sculpting skill I'd just acquired bloomed into a torrent of inspiration and muscle memory. Before the finals, I would bring the physical form of Nirvana to life perfectly. Then I made a call to Serafina, Frost's assistant. "I need to speak with Ms. Frost. Tell her I'd like to ask for her cooperation in a little piece of theater, a show that will drag the entire Sterling family through the mud." The finals of the National Emerging Designer Competition were held at the Boston Grand Opera House. The event was star-studded, swarming with media. The Sterling family had booked the best seats. Victoria's mother and a host of relatives were all in attendance, ready to witness Preston's glorious victory. Victoria sat in the front row, her makeup flawless, graciously accepting compliments from those around her. "Victoria, your brother is so talented and young. The Sterlings are really going to hit the jackpot with this one. Fame and fortune." Victoria offered modest replies, but the pride in her eyes was unmistakable. It was Preston's turn to take the stage. He was dressed in a white tuxedo, looking sharp and respectable. On the large screen behind him, a slideshow about the design philosophy of Nirvana began to play. My inspiration comes from the legend of the phoenix rising from the ashes. He read from his script, his voice filled with passion, as if the words were his own. The Sterlings in the audience beamed with pride, applauding thunderously. Just as he finished his presentation and was about to unveil a model of the piece, I walked out from backstage. One moment, my voice wasn't loud, but the microphone carried it clearly throughout the entire theater. The entire hall erupted in murmurs. Every eye in the room swiveled to me, the unexpected intruder. Preston froze. What are you doing here? Victoria's face instantly paled. She shot up from her seat and shrieked. Leo, what do you think you're doing? Get off that stage. I ignored them both, turning my gaze to a specific spot in the audience with a slight smile. And now, I'd like to invite my queen to the stage. As soon as the words left my mouth, the large doors at the back of the theater swung open. Bathed in a tracking spotlight, Serafina Frost, wearing a stunning black mermaid-style evening gown, walked slowly down the aisle. Her entrance stole the breath from everyone in the room. Regal, cool, radiating pure power. She paid no attention to anyone else, walking directly onto the stage to stand beside me. The audience absolutely lost its mind. Isn't that Serafina Frost from Apex Industries? What's she doing here? And with Leo Vance. What in the world is going on? Victoria's face was now as white as a sheet. I opened a velvet box in my hands. Inside, a breathtakingly brilliant necklace lay nestled. It was fashioned from countless tiny diamonds and rubies, forming a phoenix with its wings spread for flight. At the center of the phoenix, a piece of translucent, shimmering jade was carved into the shape of a flame. This was the real Nirvana. As the entire audience watched in stunned silence, I personally fastened the necklace around Serafina's neck. It fit her elegant neckline perfectly, as if it had been made for her and her alone. I picked up the microphone, looked at the ashen faces of Preston and Victoria, and smiled. Fakes belong in slideshows on a screen. The real thing, I declared, my voice ringing with authority, belongs on my queen. The statement was a bombshell. The reporters in the audience went into a frenzy, their camera flashes creating a blinding storm of light. Plagiarism. This was a naked, career-destroying plagiarism scandal. All the blood drained from Preston's face. He pointed at me, sputtering incoherently. You're lying. That's my design. You stole it from me. I gave a cold laugh and pulled a document from my pocket. Is that so? Then perhaps you can explain why the copyright registration certificate for my work is dated 1 year ago. On the large screen, a crystal-clear image of my copyright certificate appeared. The evidence was irrefutable. Preston collapsed to the stage floor. The Sterling family's moment of glory had instantly turned into their public execution. I looked down at the catatonic Victoria, feeling no sense of triumph. Only a vast, empty sense of relief and sorrow. Victoria, this is just the appetizer. The main course is yet to come. The plagiarism scandal swept through Boston like a hurricane. Preston was permanently banned from the competition, becoming the laughingstock of the design world. The Sterling Enterprises stock plummeted overnight, wiping out billions in market value. Their reputation was in ruins. Backstage, Victoria charged at me like a madwoman, grabbing the collar of my shirt. Leo, why would you do this? Why did you have to be so cruel? Her eyes were bloodshot. Her makeup was smeared with tears. Gone was her usual polished composure, replaced by a desperate, haggard mess. Do you hate me that much? Enough to destroy my entire family. I looked at her calmly and pried her fingers from my collar. You're the one who handed me the knife. Victoria's body went limp, and she slid down the wall to the floor. She buried her head in her hands and began to sob. I didn't mean to. It wasn't just for Preston. She choked out, revealing her so-called truth. The company's cash flow was about to dry up. We desperately needed a high-profile project to secure a life-saving investment. Winning this competition was our only hope. I had no choice. I had to do it. I did it to save the entire Sterling family. She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears, pleading for understanding. She thought that hearing her hardship would make me soften, make me forgive her. Just like every other time she'd made a mistake over the past 3 years, and I had always forgiven her unconditionally. But she was wrong. DCNG, Ultimate Truth Revelation Mission. Truth triggered. Truth mission. Informed Victoria Sterling that the design she used to save her family was already in acquisition talks with a top international brand for $30 million, and that she personally destroyed Leo Vance's chance to make his name. Mission reward. Top-tier personal security team. Lifelong service. The system's voice was cold and merciless. I took a deep breath, crouched down, and met her gaze. Victoria, did you know? My voice was soft, but each word landed like a sledgehammer on her heart. A week before you stole that design from me. Cartier's Paris headquarters had already contacted me by email. They were preparing to offer $30 million to acquire the design rights for Nirvana. I took out my phone, opened an encrypted email, and held it in front of her face. On the screen was a letter of intent, personally signed by the president of Cartier's Asia-Pacific division. It was all there in black and white. $30 million. Not to save the failing Sterling Enterprises, but for me, Leo Vance, alone. It was my chance to skyrocket to fame, to shed the identity of a kept husband, to finally stand on my own 2 feet. And she, Victoria Sterling, the woman I had once loved more than anything, had personally destroyed it all. She stared at the email, her mind a complete blank. The color drained from her face, leaving it utterly bloodless. She had tried to save her family, but in the most foolish way imaginable, she had destroyed her husband's future and shattered a heart that had once burned for her. No, that's impossible, she whispered, completely broken. I stood up and looked down at her. Now we're even. I turned and walked away, leaving her collapsed on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. A short distance away, Serafina Frost was leaning against a wall, quietly observing everything. Her complex expression was a mixture of shock, sympathy, and something else. Admiration. It was the first time she had seen this resolute and powerful side of me. Victoria's long, painful journey of regret was just beginning. After the scandal, I became the new star of Boston's design scene. Orders for Nirvana Studio began pouring in, but I didn't accept any of them. I had a much grander vision. Using the holographic interface technology patent awarded by the system, I founded Phantomverse Tech, focusing on immersive interactive experiences. It was an industry with the potential to change the future. Serafina Frost's business instincts were sharper than a shark's sense for blood. She came to me immediately, wasting no words. I'm investing. I want 30% of your company. In exchange, all of Apex Industries' resources will be at your disposal. I looked at the determination in her eyes and smiled. Ms. Frost, is this an angel investment or a hostile takeover? Both, she replied, completely unabashed. Deal. And just like that, my former scandal partner became my most important business partner. We started spending more and more time together at work. I discovered that this iceberg wasn't as cold as she appeared on the surface. She simply used a hard shell to protect herself. My new mission was to crack that shell. DKNG, daily flirting mission issued. Mission objective, for 1 week straight, deliver a different disaster dish of your own creation to Serafina Frost each day. Mission reward, company valuation doubles. And so, the employees of Apex Industries were treated to the daily spectacle of me arriving at the CEO's office with all sorts of bizarre food containers. Day 1 was wasabi lava cake. Serafina took one bite, her face turned green, and she threw me out on the spot. Day 2 was durian crepe pudding. She pinched her nose and had me, along with the pudding, thrown into the elevator. Day 3 was surströmming pizza. She just called security. But strangely, on day 4, she didn't call security. And on day 5, she even seemed a little expectant. The shipping of us among the company's staff reached a fever pitch. Meanwhile, Victoria began her clumsy attempts at winning me back. She called me dozens of times a day and sent hundreds of apologetic texts. I ignored them all. She started acting like I used to, cooking meals and waiting for me outside my office building. I had my assistant throw the food away. She refused to leave and would just wait downstairs. And so, she had a front row seat to see Serafina Frost's white Bentley pull up at the same time every evening. She watched me get into the car, laughing and talking with Serafina as we drove away. Victoria would just stand there, watching the taillights disappear, consumed by a maddening jealousy. She was finally beginning to understand what, and who, she had lost. Back at home, she unleashed her fury on her precious brother Preston for the first time, freezing all his bank accounts and kicking him out of the house. Before long, Serafina and I joined forces to win the contract for the new Smart City holographic interface project in Boston's Seaport District. It was a project the Sterlings had dreamed of but could never attain. At the celebration dinner, I was the man of the hour. Victoria, meanwhile, could only catch a blurry glimpse of my profile in the corner of a business news segment. Sterling Enterprises was on its last legs. The blow from the scandal, combined with losing the project, had pushed the already precarious company to the brink. Their main rival, the Walton Group, smelled blood and launched a hostile takeover. Victoria's father, the same man who had looked down his nose at me at that birthday gala, had a stroke from the stress and was hospitalized. With no leader, the company descended into chaos. Victoria was overwhelmed begging for help everywhere she went, only to be met with closed doors. When a wall is about to collapse, everyone gives it a push. The business world is a harsh reality. That night, a torrential downpour began. I was in my office on a video call with Serafina, discussing the project details. My assistant knocked and entered, a strange look on her face. "Mr. Vance, Ms. Sterling, Victoria is downstairs. She said she needs to see you." I frowned. "Tell her to leave. She says if you don't see her, she'll wait." I glanced out the window. The rain was coming down in sheets, as if the sky had broken open. On the other end of the video call, Serafina had heard. She said nothing, just watched me. I was silent for a few seconds. Fine. Ignore her. I closed the blinds and continued the meeting. That night, the rain never stopped. And Victoria Sterling stood downstairs in that rain all night long. The next morning, when I came down, she was still there. Soaked to the bone, her face deathly pale, her lips blue. She looked like a ghost abandoned by the entire world. When she saw me, her eyes lit up and she staggered toward me. "Leo," her voice with a ragged, unrecognizable whisper. Please help the Sterling family. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. If you'll just help us, I'll do anything." She had shed every last bit of her pride, begging me like a commoner. Just then, Serafina's car pulled up silently beside me. The window rolled down, revealing her flawless face. I ignored Victoria, pulled open the car door, and got in. As the window slid back up, it blocked out Victoria's despair-filled face. In the rearview mirror, I saw her collapse to her knees in the rain, sobbing her heart out. Dichinji, host faces the ultimate choice. A. Stand by and watch as the Walton Group devours Sterling Enterprises, leaving Victoria in total despair. Reward. Phantomverse Tech's market cap will exceed $100 billion. B. Intervene and acquire Sterling Enterprises, personally taking control of Victoria and her family's fate. Reward. The skill Grandmaster-level business negotiation. I didn't hesitate for a second. I choose B. Serafina glanced at me. Still have a soft spot for her? I smiled. It was a smile laced with a chilling cruelty. No, I just enjoy collecting trophies. I took out my phone and called my investment team. Initiate project checkmate. Targets, the Walton Group, and Sterling Enterprises. I didn't want to watch her be destroyed. I wanted her and the entire Sterling family to bow before me. The market is a battlefield. With the Grandmaster-level business negotiation skill, it was like I had activated God mode. Every weakness of both the Walton Group and Sterling Enterprises was laid bare before me. I worked with Serafina to launch a brutal assault on the Walton Group in the capital markets, while simultaneously sending my people to approach the terrified shareholders of Sterling Enterprises with a savior's offer. I pulled them in, divided them, threatened them, and bribed them. In just 1 week, the Walton Group's alliance crumbled, and they were left struggling to save themselves. Meanwhile, I acquired over 60% of Sterling Enterprises shares at a price so low they couldn't refuse. I was the new, undisputed owner of Sterling Enterprises. The final acquisition agreement required Victoria's signature as the legal representative. The signing was to take place in the chairman's office at Sterling Enterprises, her father's old office. I sat in the large, leather chairman's chair, watching Victoria walk in. She had lost a lot of weight. Her face was ashen, her eyes hollow. "Did you come here to laugh at me?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "I came to sign a contract." I pushed a file across the desk to her. She picked up the pen, her hand trembling so badly she couldn't write a single complete letter after several attempts. "Leo, are you going to wipe out the Sterling family completely?" She looked up, tears welling in her eyes. "My father is already in the hospital. Can't you just let us go?" I didn't answer her. Instead, I pushed another contract in her direction. It was a new employment agreement. "The acquisition can go through," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. "On one condition. You, Victoria Sterling, must remain as the general manager of Sterling Enterprises. You will work for me for 10 years. Your annual salary will be $1. Victoria looked up, her face a mask of humiliation and disbelief. The man she had once despised more than anyone was now going to make her his workhorse. This was a fate worse than death. She stared at me, and I stared back at her. The air in the room felt solid. After a long moment, she let out a bitter laugh, a tear sliding down her cheek. To save her father's life's work, to save the jobs of over 1,000 employees, she had no choice. She took the pen and signed her name on the contract that was, for all intents and purposes, an indenture of servitude. Victoria Sterling. From that day forward, she was no longer the high and mighty Ms. Sterling. nor was she Leo Vance's wife. She was just my most humble employee. After I integrated Sterling Enterprises, Phantomverse Tech grew exponentially, becoming the undisputed giant of the industry. The weekly Monday morning executive meeting became Victoria's personal torture chamber. As the head of a subsidiary, she had to report her work to me, sitting at the head of the table, and to Serafina, sitting beside me. She watched the easy chemistry between us, watched Serafina occasionally straighten my tie with a casual intimacy. The two of them, one powerful and confident, the other beautiful and decisive, looked like they were made for each other. The last embers of defiance in her heart were finally extinguished. She began to work herself to the bone, punishing herself, trying to repay the debt she owed me. She became quiet, reserved, but also more professional and capable. Under her management, Sterling Enterprises miraculously began to turn a profit. Life seemed to be settling into a new normal. But there are always fools who want to disrupt the peace. Preston, having been kicked out of the family, had burned through all his money and decided to come looking for trouble. He brought a few thugs with him to the Phantomverse Tech building, shouting that he was going to destroy me. Leo Vance, you ungrateful bastard. Get your ass out here. The commotion drew everyone's attention in the main lobby. Victoria and Serafina both rushed down to see what was happening. I walked out of my office unhurried. DXNG. Low-level provocation detected. Dare mission issued. Mission objective. Defeat all thugs using only a single slipper. Mission reward. Grandmaster level combat. I looked at the flailing, screaming Preston and smiled. I casually picked up a plastic crock from beside the security guard's desk and weighed it in my hand. John Wick uses a pencil. I use a crock. Seems reasonable. Before the shocked eyes of Serafina and Victoria, I lunge forward. Dodge, block, strike. The techniques of Grandmaster-level combat flowed through me. My movements were fluid and, while they may have looked absurd, every strike was precise. Smack, thwack, slap. The sound of a crock hitting a face was surprisingly crisp and satisfying. In less than a minute, all the thugs, including Preston, were writhing on the floor, groaning in pain. I tossed the crock aside and dusted off my hands. I turned to a completely dumbfounded Serafina and winked. Impressive, right? Serafina stared for a few seconds, then finally let out a snort of laughter. The sound was like an iceberg melting, like a field of flowers blooming in an instant. Beside her, Victoria looked at the powerful, confident, and surprisingly witty man before her, and her eyes dimmed. She finally understood, with crushing certainty. She had lost him. Forever. A year later, at the Sterling Enterprises annual review meeting, Victoria presented a flawless financial report. Under her leadership, the company was not only profitable again, but was performing even better than in its heyday. After the meeting, she came to my office. She placed a file on my desk. It was a letter of resignation and a divorce agreement, which she had already signed. My debt is paid, she said, looking at me. The love and hate were gone from her face, replaced by a sense of calm release. I looked at her tired but resolute face and nodded. I picked up a pen and signed my name on the divorce agreement. Leo Vance. From this moment on, we had nothing to do with each other. She turned and left without a backward glance. A little while later, I received a final text message from her, sent from an unknown number. It contained a single photo. It was a bracelet I had bought her for $50 at a street market when we first got married. It was ugly and cheap, but she had worn it constantly until Preston had mocked it, torn it from her wrist, and thrown it away. In the photo, the bracelet had been carefully rest-strung. The caption read, I lost the boy whose eyes saw only me. Now I'm returning him to someone more deserving. Be happy, Mr. Vance. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I hit delete. The last lingering resentment I held for the past vanished with it. DXNG. The system's voice, silent for so long, chimed in. Host's emotional baggage has been resolved. Ultimate doormat status has been successfully graduated. Congratulations, host. The world is your oyster. The office door opened. Serafina walked in and wrapped her arms around me from behind. What are you thinking about? Her voice was as gentle as water. I turned and kissed her. About our future. 2 years later, Phantomverse Tech successfully went public on the NASDAQ. Overnight, my net worth soared into the billions, and I became the hottest new name in the global tech industry. At the press conference, in front of the world's media, I told my story, from a despised freeloader husband to the head of a tech empire. I want to thank everyone who ever looked down on me. Your scorn was the fuel that drove me forward. But there is one person I want to thank above all others. I looked out at the audience, to Serafina sitting in the front row. She came into my life when I was at my craziest, my most pathetic. The whole world thought I was a lunatic, but she was the only one willing to play along, to be crazy with me. I walked off the stage, through the crowd, and knelt on one knee before her. I took out a diamond ring. Its design was an evolution of Nirvana, but even more brilliant, more magnificent. Ms. Frost, is your company hiring? I'm looking for a position as a handbag carrier. I can cook, I can fight, and I can make money to spend on you. Seraphina's eyes instantly welled up with tears. She looked at me, laughing and crying at the same time. In front of the entire world, she said, loud and clear, I am. The room erupted in thunderous applause. The moment I slipped the ring on her finger, the system's voice sounded in my head one last time. Ultimate life mission. Passionately kiss your fiancé for 1 full minute. Mission reward? None. Mission penalty? None. I smiled and kissed the woman I loved. Congratulations, host, on finding true love. This system's energy is now depleted and will be entering permanent hibernation. Have a nice life. Go be awesome. Goodbye, system. And thank you. My wedding to Seraphina was a global event. We held it on a private island we had bought. That day, I received an anonymous package. Inside was a small jewelry box. When I opened it, I found a Parker fountain pen. It was the only gift Victoria had ever given me back when I first married into her family. It was once my most treasured possession. Preston had broken it while fooling around and thrown it away. The one in my hand had clearly been meticulously repaired. Inside the box was a small card. It had only one sentence written on it. Use this to sign the contracts that will change the world. There was no signature. I knew it was from her. I put the pen away. It was the best way to lay the past to rest. During our honeymoon, Seraphina and I were lying on the deck of our yacht, gazing at the star-filled sky. I felt a wave of nostalgia and, as a joke, said to the air, "Hey system, if you're still in there, give me a sign." It was just a throwaway comment. To my shock, a voice actually responded in my head. It was no longer a cold, mechanical tone. It was a sweet, childish voice like that of a little kid. "Daddy, did you call me?" I was so startled, I almost fell off the lounge chair. Who are you?" "It's me, the system." The childish voice replied. Before I went into hibernation, I used the last of my energy to upgrade myself into a primary artificial intelligence. My new core directive is to recognize you as my primary user. "Nice to meet you, Daddy." Seraphina leaned over, looking at me curiously. "Who are you talking to?" I pulled her close, looked out at the starry sky over the vast ocean, and smiled. "Nothing. Just saying hello to our first child, the one who's going to help us change the world." My story was over, but a new, much wider world was just beginning.